Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today is October 1st, which makes it officially Q4 of the year and the perfect time to talk about all the books that I acquired in Q3. So if you're new to my channel, I do a book haul every 3 months, just talking about everything I've acquired during that time. That seems to just work pretty well for the rate that I accrue books at. And I also like to start with a little check-in on where my owned TBR is at, because I've been trying to reduce it over the last couple of years. So at the start of this quarter, I had 354 books, I think, on my TBR, and now I have 352. So it's not much of a decrease, but it does continue the downward trend that I saw last quarter, so overall I'm still pretty happy with that. Editing Hope here with 2 quick corrections. One, we actually went up last quarter, I think by like 4 books, so we've seen an overall downward trend this year. I think started at 374 books at the start of the year. So downward trend overall, actually went slightly up in Q2. So Q3 was really a return to a decrease, which is great. And then the other correction is that I actually started at 355 books, not 354 for this quarter. So it was even more of a decrease than I thought. And I'm hoping that once I get out of the kind of funk I've been in this year, hopefully that rate will continue to improve. We'll see more decreases going into 2026. Fingers crossed. So, numbers aside, let's dive into the books. We'll start with the one ebook that I got this quarter, which is Death in the Spires by KJ Charles. My best friend gifted me this one because she was reading this at the time that I was reading a different mystery that I wasn't liking, and she was loving this and felt like it was addressing all of the problems I had with the other book I was reading at the time. She also just really wanted to talk about it, so she sent it to me so that I could read it and hopefully we can discuss it. I'm really bad about getting to her recommendations in a timely manner, so I'm really going to try hard to get to this one in October so that she doesn't have to wait like a year or more like she usually does. Next up, I have a stack of pre-orders that I got throughout the last couple of months, starting with The Babysitter Lives and Killer on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones. I think this is such a cool edition with the 2 books in it. I have read The Babysitter Lives. I have not yet read Killer on the Road, but this one I think is about like a group of people on a road trip who are being pursued by a serial killer, and that really intrigued me, so I'm looking forward to picking it up. Then we have The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is her most recent release, and I am very excited for this. I had an arc of it and just didn't manage to get to it before the book came out, but I am hoping to read this one in October as well because it seems like it's going to be perfect for spooky season. Also, sorry if my voice is a little bit on the quieter side. I'm still a little hoarse. I've got morning voice at the moment. But next up, we have Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. I read Bury Your Gaze either earlier this year or late last year and just really enjoyed it. It was a really great book. And this one is a horror about probability, which sounds fun. Then we've got the book that I feel like everyone and their mother is currently reading, which is Catabasis or Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. This one's about, academic rivals journeying into hell to save their mentor so that he can write them recommendation letters. And that just sounds like a perfect blend of things that I'm going to love. And then finally, we have one more that I have already read, which is The Killer Question by Janice Hallett. Had an arc of this one, read it, was so excited for it to come out so that more people can read it. I think this perfectly blends the best of the appeal and the mysterious case of the Alperton Angels, and I just had an absolutely great time reading it. The rest of the books in this haul are just books I picked up on a whim when I was at the bookstore with my partner or my best friend or my mom at various different points. And the first couple are ones that I went specifically looking for. So for both of these, they came out and I knew I wanted a copy, but I hadn't pre-ordered them, so I went looking. So we have King of Ashes by S.I. Cosby. This is one where I don't really know why I didn't pre-order it, other than I just didn't think about it, because I absolutely loved All the Sinners Bleed last year, and I'm really excited to give this one a try. Typically when I've read crime novels, I tend to gravitate more towards like police procedurals and books following detectives, and this is very much not that, so I'm excited to give it a try given how much I like S.A. Cosby's writing. And then I also picked up This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This was a different trip, but I was reading this one from the library and got about 100 pages in before I needed to turn it back in. Decided to pick up my own copy so that I could finish it on my own time and not have to like set it down. And then life being what it was, I then started slumping really hard, so I still didn't finish it, but now I have a copy and I can finish it on my own time. The next 2 I think both came from a specific trip I went with my partner. So I picked up for myself, it came from Del Rio by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a shorter one of his works that's about like a guy smuggling, I think, radioactive materials across the border, and I think there's also like a wearer bunny or something. I'm very unclear on what's going on here, but it sounds super weird, it sounds fun, and I just generally love Stephen Graham Jones' writing. As mentioned before that I've got another book from him in this stack, but I'm excited to give this one a try just because it sounds quite different from the other things I've read from him. And then the other thing from this particular trip, which I'm gonna have to put this one down for, is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I did already have a copy of this, but my partner borrowed it several years ago to read, and he's just never gotten around to it. He has not been in a reading mood the last couple of years, and it ended up being in his storage unit because he had it through a couple of moves. And then we were in Barnes & Noble, and we saw this, and I was looking, I was actually looking for something completely different, but we happened to see this on the shelves, and I love the new cover. I just think it's great, and it actually, my friend, who was waiting for me to read Death in the Spires, knowledgeable about animals. Her undergraduate degree is in biology. She loves animals. She knows a lot about them. And it really bothered her that on the hardcover, it's the wrong kind of vulture in the silhouette in the hardcover. And so this one, I sent a picture to her, and she's like, okay, those are the right kind of vultures for this story. Because she's also read it. And so she was like, yeah, the vulture on the cover of the old one is not the kind of vulture that's in the story. So I think that's a fun detail. But also, this one is signed, and what we found out when we bought it was that this was the last copy they had signed on the shelves, and just a few days before we went in, T. Kingfisher was in the store signing all the copies they had on the shelves. So that was really cool. Kind of a bummer that we missed meeting her. It was just like a couple of days before we were there, but still really awesome to have this, and he bought it as a replacement for the copy that he's held on to over the last couple of years. So now he has a copy and I have a copy. And the final stack of books all came from, I think, a singular trip that I went with my partner and my best friend both. I happened to be visiting the town where my mom lives, and we were all in town at the same time and decided to go. It was really fun, but we ended up picking up quite a few books, or at least I did. I have 2 that I actually was looking for, and 3 that I was influenced to buy, but she didn't have to work very hard, my friend. She did not have to work very hard to convince me. So the first 2 are the ones that I was looking for. I was looking for The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This is the last of her adult novels that I didn't have on my shelves, so I wanted to get a copy. It's my least favorite of her work, but the least good Janice Hallett is still a really damn good time, if that makes sense. Like, I still really enjoyed this. I just think that her other books are even stronger. The other book I went looking for was The Two Lives of Faven Scythe by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is a standalone from the same author as the Devoured Worlds trilogy. I love the first book in that trilogy, and I was very excited about this because it sounds like a super fun space pirate story, and so I wanted to give this one a try. And also, it's just got like a really cool cover. There's like space fish, so yeah, I'm very excited to read this one. And now we have the ones I was influenced to buy. We'll start with this one. This is the one that my friend most ardently told me I needed to get, which was A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, first book in the Memoirs of Lady Trent series. She read the series a year or 2 ago and just absolutely raved about it, talked about how good it was, and she thinks I'm going to love it based on some other things that I have enjoyed, and I'm delighted to give this a try because it sounds really fun. It's about a woman who's like kind of bucks the conventions of society at the time and decides to become a naturalist and goes off on adventures to study dragons, and it's set in kind of a 19th century inspired world. It's inspired, I think, by like 19th century England specifically. So it sounds really fun, and I do think that my friend is right, and I'm probably going to love it. She's never been wrong before, so that is why I take her recommendation so seriously. The next one I was influenced to buy was Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, which this was, again, not one she had to work very hard to influence me to buy, because I'd already looked at this several times, so this was more a matter of, I picked it up and went, oh, I kind of want to read this. I picked it up a bunch of times, and she was like, you should just get it. Spooky season's coming up, you should just get it. So I was like, damn, she's right, and I bought it. And I'm really hoping to read this soon. I might try to fit this in sometime around Halloween because it is very short. But this is also part of a little project I'd like to do around Halloween if I can, which involves the last book I'm going to show you, which is another one where I need to put down this so I can properly show you the last book. So the last one is a thing that I like both didn't need and like very much did need. It's a new copy of Frankenstein, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I wrote half of my thesis on it. I love Frankenstein, and in particular I really like the earlier edition. I think it was the 1816 or 1818 edition. I can't remember the specific date. I always get myself confused on that. I think it's 1818, but it's an earlier edition before Percy Shelley's death, because Mary Shelley went back and re-edited the book after his death in like the 1830s, and it was republished, and it's a little bit different. But I really like the earlier edition because there was a big focus on justice in the earlier edition. That's what I ended up talking about in my thesis that I wrote on it. But I love this book. I've read it several times. And how could I not get this, like, incredible edition? I mean, just look at it. Like, I didn't need it, but I needed it. And I did find out that this is the earlier edition of Frankenstein, the earlier version. So I was very excited about that. So it has this like red, clear slipcover. And then set that down for a second. It's got these huge illustrations, and there are also illustrations, see if I can find one, throughout the book. There's one, which I'm excited about. It also has a ribbon bookmark, which I didn't realize until after I had brought it home, but I found the ribbon while I was flipping through it. And the reason that I'm also excited about this edition, the thing that makes it very different from the other editions I have, aside from the fact that it's just absolutely gorgeous, is that this one also collects the other stories that were written as part of the contest that resulted in Frankenstein. So that is John Polidori's The Vampire and Lord Byron's A Fragment, and I've never read them. So I really want to give those a try. So, to bring things full circle, what I want to do, the project I want to do, is I want to read those couple of little pieces because they're also fairly influential on later literature, and I want to read Carmilla because it's an influential piece of literature. So I want to read 3 influential horror classics that I have never read before. That is the little project I'd like to get to sometime in October. We'll see if it actually happens or if it ends up waiting until like November, but it's something I'm really looking forward to, and I'm particularly excited about this new edition because it has those additional pieces. So, these are all of the books that I acquired in the 3rd quarter of this year. Let me know down in the comments below if you read any of these and what your thoughts were on them, or if you have acquired any books in the last quarter that you're particularly excited about. I would love to hear about it. And if you want to let me know you were here but you don't have anything to say, post a dumbbell emoji for the feat of strength that I am currently performing holding up this giant stack of books. But I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.